What MCAT score are you gonna get? Okay, why do I have to bring this up? Because people go into the MCAT thinking for some reason that them wanting a score, the score that you want, somehow has any impact on the score that you're gonna get. It doesn't work like that, okay? So if I really, I feel like I deserve and I really want a 514, and I say, well, I'm gonna go in. And my last practice test, it was a 505, but I really want a 514. And I know that for me to get into med school this cycle, I need at least a 511, like historically, based on what everyone's telling me. So I have this wishful thinking and I'm optimistic and I've dropped a bunch of hundreds of dollars. I'm going to go into the test. I'm going to get a 514. I mean, I'm scheduled for June 26th. I mean, it's already scheduled. I have to take it, right? I'll get a 514. I'll get into med school. Life will be good. Listen, it does not work like that. The score that you want has no relation to the score that you're going to get. The only way to know what score you're going to get is to go based off of your three most recent practice tests, okay? Now, there's practice tests from Kaplan, from UWorld, from TrueLearn, from whatever. All right. You have to be in the know every year, every 2 years with the forums and all this to find out which practice tests are most predictive of the real thing. And then those practice tests, you take them at the end. You don't have to take all of them at the same time. But I heard this from a pre-med, and it broke my heart. I got a 501. I got a 503. I got a 498. I need a 511. I'm scheduled next week. What do? You can't make up that gap in 8, 9 days, okay? You can't do it. It's just impossible. What else can you not do? Is you can't just go in and think you're going to perform when you're not, okay? What you can do is you can delay your test. I mean, I'm sorry to say, you you don't want to hear it from me. Well, if I delay my test, well, I have to make it for this application cycle. Well, if you apply with a 504 for this application cycle, you're not going to get in. So you're just wasting time. You're just telling yourself, you're forcing it. And then now what? You have to wait for next season instead of just slowing down this season and potentially, you know, getting a good score that you want. So when you delay your score, when you delay your test, that gives you time to actually study properly, okay, and increase your score. When should you schedule your test? You should schedule your test when you've started scoring where you want to score. You can't just schedule your test and then say, well, I'm going to be smart by this date, because it's not going to happen like that, okay? So, what did I do before my actual test? I got a 517 on the MCAT, okay? My first practice test, I got a 500, or maybe even a 495, like 6 months out. And then I started studying, and I wasted so much time doing all the things that you guys do, which is reading and highlighting and taking notes and watching videos on YouTube about the content, okay? And then I take another practice test. And then a month out, I take a practice test and I got like a 505. And I'm like, man, something has got to give. This is some BS. I've been over here, you know, I threw my life away studying for this MCAT. I'm not going out with my friends. I'm not hanging out. What am I going to do? And my test was scheduled like a month out, okay? Or maybe it was scheduled 2 weeks out and I pushed it to a month out. And then I took a practice test every other day. So I took a practice test, reviewed my weakest section. For the most part, that was going to be cars, okay, that day. And then the next day, I reviewed the 3 other sections. That, for me, was the best way that I could keep my momentum without burning out. And then, 6, 7 practice tests in, I snapped, all right? And I took a practice test the next day as well, just to see what happens. Does reviewing even matter? Okay? And my score went up. What is it? What am I telling you here? So I took, let's say, 5 practice tests in 10 days, reviewed each one, and my score would creep up 505, 506, 505, 507, 508, and then like another one back to 506, okay? Slowly creeping up. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to take another practice test tomorrow. I'm not even going to review this test. I got like a 508, and then I took another one, and I got a 509 or a 510 even. And I was like, wait a second. How do you get good at running marathons? You run marathons. How do you get good at bench pressing? You bench press. You don't watch yourself bench pressing and say, oh, well, I could have changed this angle. No. So I was like, what can I do to improve my test, my score? Keep taking practice tests, okay? So that's what taught me. Just taking a practice test improves your score, because timing, confidence, nervousness, working down that anxiety, just getting used to reading questions quickly and figuring out what they're asking for, familiarity with the words, with the language, okay, getting your eyes used to the screen for 5, 6, 7 hours, all that stuff, the fidgetiness, when do you pee? This is all like, I mean, you're competing for inches. You're competing with someone who's been studying for 5 years, 3 years, 2 years for the MCAT, who's got coaching, who's bought everything. I mean, I remember at the end of, I mean, I'm sorry to say this, but at the end of the MCAT, they asked you like for feedback, and I wrote in, you know, I was at that point one of those people, right, who's so invested in the MCAT. It was like my life. So I actually cared, and I wrote in, this isn't a test of knowledge, it's a test of privilege. Why? Because those 15 practice tests cost me money. And that was a secret to me improving my score. So, anyways, I took 15 practice tests in 30 days, and my score jumped from a 501 or a 500 to a 514. And my last 2 practice tests were a 514. So I told myself, all right, I'm probably going to get from a 512, a 514, a 515. And I showed up to the real thing. Everything was optimized, right? Because what? I had taken a practice test every other day for the next 30 days, and then my real test was number 16, bruv. You know, so it was just like, it was habit now. My oatmeal, I knew the perfect dose. Okay, exactly how much coffee to drink. When did I need to pee? Exactly at the break time. Everything was optimized. It was perfect for me. I felt so good. I felt comfortable. I felt happy. I was excited. I was like, man, I'm going in here. Who else? Who else just took 15 practice tests in a month next to me? No one else. You know what the other kids were doing? They were reviewing topics. They were content review. They were forcing it. So I went in confident. Okay. And so basically what I'm trying to tell you is, if you think you're going to force it, if you think that, you know, I haven't been scoring that well, I'm tired of studying, let me just take it, let me get it done with, I need a score for this cycle. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. If you get a bad score, that's not going to get you into med school, and then now you're forced to take the MCAT again, and you have on your record that you've taken it twice or 3 times. Okay? I'm not advocating to give up. Remember here, I'm just saying, know that the score you're going to get is the score that you've gotten before. All right? When you have an NBA halftime show and they pick someone from the fans to do it, you know, a midway court shot, and they're going to win like $10 million or whatever. Do you think why don't they just pick Kobe and LeBron James, right? Because what? Because they know they're going to make it, because they have a track record of doing so. So if you can't just wing it, you can't just go in and say, well, yeah, I've never done this before, but I'm going to score highly. It's not going to happen. The only way is for you to practice. And what does practice mean? Practice tests. And when you get really good at those, then you take your actual test.